X404 Humans Found.
For sure, yeah. So this is a good time for me to just add one thing that I had a conversation with somebody I was meeting after almost like 3-4 years in the city. And this individual is like a CTO. He's coming out of his last large enterprise fintech stint, where he's already done some AI agents work and co-pilots and everything else, but mostly he's done it mostly from a business angle, right? Not from a like, oh, I want to like have Claude code and improve like engineering from that angle. So he was telling me that on the personal side, what he has really observed is if you're using Claude code for building like a product and then hoping that you would build a product and then you will go to the market and then you'll figure out product market fit and distribution, that's not going to work. So what he's based, and we are also seeing the same thing, right? He's realized that the traditional way of lean startups launching a product and figuring out distribution and everything else is not something he thinks you could probably do with when you have immense intelligence at your disposal. You would probably be better off doing 200 product ideas and then finding what sticks. And when I asked him like, how would you do 200 product ideas in parallel, he's like, I'm just creating like these GitHub repositories, open sourcing all of those repositories under a labs construct, and I'm basically just adding like very basic set of like you could say scaffolding, right, of a project with the details of what that product is, and then his hope is that it will become a notorious thing on the internet, and one or two of those things will become viral or hit, and that's when he identifies that is my signal to go build it further. I'm like, wow, that's something that OpenClaw is doing. For example, if it says that you get 10,000 stars, that's when you actually go and take it to the next level. So yeah, we were basically just at the beginning of that discussion when this insight struck me that would you even, and Rodolfo, you and I have been discussing this, right? Would you even want to create one idea in a month if you can actually create 200 ideas but at a lesser fidelity in that sense, and then see, just like the idea browser guy, just see which one actually takes up, and then that's when you go I don't know, like spiral it out. Yeah,
that was one of my submissions in the Miro board. Was idea browser factory.
I think you're saying something similar.
Ideas, spend almost no time talking about ideas. It's just focused on building as many ideas as you can, building the infrastructure around it. How do you do reuse of like, because if you apply something that makes, let's say, the marketing agent better for one, it should apply to all. So you get the economy of scale. Because what's happening is this guy, Greg, he publishes these every day, and he's got a couple little success stories of some solopreneurs who have built one of the ideas. But like with anything else, if you get a team that comes around and hacks it and then takes that data and leverages it and gives them an unfair advantage versus any other entrepreneur or solopreneur, like I feel that we could come together. And yes, a large company that tries to do it, they would have an advantage in terms of the resources, the materials, the tokens, all that sort of stuff. But a solopreneur, they can go kind of fast in the beginning, but you're going to go farther with a team of people who each have different complementary skill sets. And we could, as a team, build that factory for just blindly building whatever idea comes out that day, right? Like, don't debate about the idea. Don't even waste your time. It could just be like, it builds every single day. Like that would be the pinnacle, right? Every day a new idea comes out, just build that idea that day, and just keep going, and then pool resources. So if one idea starts to take off, then it starts pooling, ad spend for one is not doing well as another, then you start pooling resources into the one that is doing better.
So I think I shared this as well on the WhatsApp group. Just I think it fits really well with Tony what you're saying, and I think Zane what you're thinking about as well, right? I think that Kishore and I were talking. I don't remember when this was, but basically we had kind of like this aha moment, right? And again, Greg Eisenberg, I feel that sometimes he's like too much hype right? And oh, everybody can build anything, in an hour, right? But oh yes, thank you, sure. But basically, like he kind of like made us rethink our kind of like the way that we're thinking about it, right? And basically, his argument is that traditionally engineers, product, like entrepreneurs in general, think in a very artisanal, sequential way, where you start, okay, what's the idea? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Okay, let me build it. Let me MVP it. Let me try it, right? And then it's kind of like, well, actually, I don't know who to try it with. I want to keep building, right? So this build it, and they will come emerges almost, right, in that framework. And what he's saying, which I think is a hot take, right, is like, screw that distribution first, right? Build an audience, build channels, so on and so forth, so that when you actually have the idea, you can very quickly share it, test it, etc., right? Rather than basically, oh, now I feel that this is a good MVP, let me go try find an audience, find people, right? And I think that yeah, I mean, I don't know, Kishore, if you want to add anything, but to us, it was a very important reframe for how we need to be thinking about the ideas that we have. Yeah. And again, I don't think that it's different, from what a bunch of you guys are saying, but yeah. Sorry.
So, I think this is a very organic, arrival for me as an insight, and it only happened just today in the meeting, right, with you all right now, which is when I was back in the subway coming back home, like just 2 hours ago, I was thinking, well, today in the call, let's go and vote on these Miro board ideas. And then suddenly it struck me, why should we vote on these? Why should we not like launch all these? And again, the launch here does not mean, go like get the 0 to 1 process for each of these ideas, but literally just go create an X404 labs or like an X404 community GitHub org, put a repo there, and each idea has its representation repo with whatever details we can put there, right? Including even if somebody feels like that seriously or that passionate about that idea, they can go and just add some more color to it, right? Some more research to it, some more validation to it, maybe some more like actual prototype to it. And the idea is to basically say, as the X404 group basically pulls in more and more like podcasts, more and more distribution, more and more like, I don't know, insights and ideas, it could just keep going in to something like this. And I'm guessing if not at 10, maybe at 100, maybe at 200, one of those will become notoriously famous. And once that happens, you already have the, the muscle to take it forward. And maybe you already have the distribution to take it forward. But that just came in because we were discussing this today. And Rodolfo, you and I always think about like voting on things, right, on the Miro board. But this is the first time it has struck me that, well, we have the tokens. Why not just put all of them in GitHub?
Mm-hmm. I think that there's let me present a counterpoint to that, and,
sure.
And Jay isn't here, so I want to try to channel him, right? So we can do that, right? And we can have like 100 ideas there, right? And then how do we like, what's the trade-off, right, between, because if we have the Zane's factory or Tony's factory or the distribution factory, mm-hmm. I think that what you're saying makes a lot of sense, right? Mm-hmm. But before then, right, how do we like, yeah, I guess maybe I'm lacking imagination a little bit, right? But how do we, it's great to, I think that, collecting the ideas, 100%, no argument, no question about that, right? But then what, right? And how does focus and kind of like, and actually pulling the brain power of like this group come together, if, how do we organize that, I guess, would be my question.
That's a valid question. And I don't know, Zane, do you have
maybe we can take a step back and reframe this?
Yeah.
Do you think that someday either one person or a group of people, whether it's an official company or not, is going to create the ability to build companies at mass scale?
When you say mass scale, is it
I would say the types of businesses that solopreneurs can run themselves if they're savvy enough and have, I think the trickiest part is, I think from first principles, I think the way things are going is the tech will get there, the capabilities will get there. I think the struggle will be the distribution, because that could require lots of human connection and networking and all that sort of stuff, because you can create like digital ads and automate digital ads and do all that sort of stuff, but that's not how everything works, right? So a lot of anything B2B, you can't just rely on like that. So I think, yeah, the question is, do we think someday that someone will have a factory that rather than building 20 companies a year, there are venture studios that build and launch 20 businesses a year, right? So do you think someone's going to do something that does 365 someday?
Yeah.
I mean, like, Redefine Health, or what's the health venture studio in New York? Yeah, they claimed 3 years ago to be launching 20 businesses a year, and that's in like medical.
So
like
the difference is, I think the difference, and Tony, this is where you're actually pushing the bar higher too. If somebody can do with all the compliance and all the regulatory burden and all the talent burden, right, and the slowness of a B2B business, if somebody can launch 20 businesses a year, and especially in a harder field like health, then I can say that it gives us a pause to think, why can't you launch 200 B2C purely digital businesses a year? Because B2C is, I think, different.
The idea browser ideas tend to be more, some of them are B2B, but there's still things that are not high regulatory approval, not healthcare. Like, there are things that solopreneurs, that's why I picked that specifically, is because it's meant for solopreneurs to go and build.
Yeah, I feel like solopreneurs will be you could launch 20 niche businesses or 100 niche businesses, right? It may not be the like complex regulatory enterprise businesses, but it could be B2B, but it's a smaller B2B audience. I think there's, like, the way I've been thinking about it is like there's two, maybe, part of this depends is like how much can AI do in terms of actually orchestrating a business end to end, and on the flip side, how much distribution and reach can you get with just AI, and at what point does it become like, hey, there's a bunch of AI slop and people want the like human person behind it again, right? So maybe we reach this like limiting factor. I feel like right now there's this arbitrage, whereas like their capabilities are there that you could produce a lot more ideas, but not everyone is doing it yet. So there's this opportunity.
Yeah.
It might be that at some point it's like, if people are just so inundated with these labs doing exactly what we just talked about, that maybe people stop paying attention. But I think right now there's a window where it could work. And then, and then there may come a point where it's like reverses again a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing here is, if you think that someday there is going to be the first solopreneur unicorn, could you have a small team of people like us to build a bunch of profitable businesses, 365, let's say, just because Idea Browser has one idea a day, like to actually build, one new company a day that achieves, it doesn't matter whether it's, $10 million ARR or $100 million ARR. All that matters is profit. All that matters is if it only makes $10 million, $10,000 in profit, but it only costs $5,000 to run a year, then you're at least making $5,000 a year. And then if you do 365 of them, and whichever ones take off, anyways.
Yeah. I definitely think you could build a bunch of like 7-figure businesses, that add up, or whatever, 6- and 7-figure businesses that are maybe, like you said, not billions, but when you add them all up, and they run relatively, if you pick the right kinds of things, they can run, relatively independently. So
there is a venture studio called, I think I mentioned before, Aural, and they split out of another venture studio, and their goal is to help 100,000 businesses a year as a venture studio. So like they call the ideas, it's catching on, which is, I think I mentioned it before, donkey corns. So donkey corns are just niche businesses that have an upper limit to how much money like literally you go through their form. If you have an idea and you want to build your idea with them, the form literally has a donkey, like with like a party hat. So if you think your business might only be like a $500,000 a year business, that's fine. They want to take a rev share, like they treat it almost, like a rev share cut. So if they're able to help you launch your business and you can, revenue $500,000 a year, they'll take 15%. I can't remember if it's 15% of your revenue or 15% of your profit. I can't remember, but yeah, there are people who are trying to push the envelope, for sure.
I think, I don't know whether this is feasible today or not, but I do like the idea of making, 10K profit for a 5,000 or 2,000, like, I don't know, runtime operational cost. And I'm guessing that as you build more on this factory, the operational cost keeps going down exponentially, or not exponentially, but at least like to some extent, right? Like you're not going to spend the same amount for like that you're spending for one idea for 365 ideas as well, right? So your ratio of per idea cost actually goes down.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, so that's like, but how do you guys think like the rest of the call is all about that, right? So what exactly excites you about, I think, going forward on any of these, all of these, another like dimension of this? It could be, okay, let's not build ideas, let's just build a podcast, let's just build a media company, let's just build, I don't know, like a community infrastructure. I'm just thinking like anything that is completely outside of our view right now. Is there something that is that could actually align us?
I think we should do the podcast no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
This could be the first one if we're, are we recording video or no?
No, we're not.
No, I think we are.
I have one. Yeah, I think so.
Zen, can you post this as a video podcast?
Where do I post it?
Like, you and Tony can start from the Substack, and then we can basically do it on Leapfrog as well.
Substack or YouTube, either one.
Actually, we could do a YouTube infra for X404, and then from there we can just start using our personal Substacks for distribution. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just one of us has to create the channel, the X404 channel, and then
that. Let me take the infrastructure. I'll do. No worries. I'll create a whole bunch of things as you request on the WhatsApp, and then we can start thinking about how to put that thing on. Yeah.
Yeah, we might need some editing, maybe.
No editing to start. Just do it scrappy, and then we'll get better and start editing over time.
Is there any content here that might be, I don't know, like censorable or like we need to edit that? I don't think so.
I think in the very beginning, maybe, Kishore.
The detail stuff I need to maybe.
No, we'll start from the Miro board then. Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
Actually, good point. We'll do edits. Anything else that comes to mind? I think that's already a great start, right? Like one initiative that we can launch before like the next meeting. Yeah.
And then I think the other one, right? And I don't know, Kishore. Now I'm gonna flip to the other side of the argument that I made, right? One thing that we've talked about, right, is kind of like what you've done. So Kishore went through this very kind of like multi-day, multi-step, kind of like hardening the NVIDIA machine that we have for OpenClaw, right? And we're talking about that today, and I'm like, dude, yeah, you need to write the second blog post on this. And then it was like, what doesn't this become an MCP server or a plugin? So that if you set up your OpenClaw, right, then you can just say, how am I doing? Like do an analysis of my setup, right, and tell me if there's any vulnerabilities or if there's anything that I'm leaving open that maybe I shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So that in itself, right, that I think that's valuable.
I need that.
People,
yeah,
right?
That's useful.
Yeah. So maybe there's kind of like these just like things that we're working on, these micro ideas that, we don't even need to. And I don't know, maybe Kishore, that's kind of like the way that you were going, right? Let's just I think do it, right? We're doing it anyways. Let's put it out there to the world, right? And and see what happens, right? And then maybe if there's something more elaborate, then we need to decide. But if it's something we're doing already, right? Let's productize it, quote unquote, right?
Okay, MCP server for Iron Claws.
Are you using the Iron Claw thing?
No, I'm just saying like we'll name it something. We'll name it like Iron Man Claw or some claw.
oh yeah.
By the way, Tony and Alan, maybe you guys can see this too. I found from the Region Club, which is actually, Tony, in your hometown in like Boulder area. Not in Denver specifically, but like I still keep them like combined. I think the founders were basically coming out of the East Denver like community, and they established their East Boulder community. And then there's actually a workspace very similar to the Frontier Towers, Rodolfo, that they have booked in Boulder. And they have created like this co-working space for all founders, all like newbies and everybody who wants to join into this collective AI, and crypto infrastructure building. And they're calling it like Region Club. And what I found is that, well, they were generous enough to like, open up the Telegram group to, I think, whoever gets invite and join. And when I joined, I asked them about like, hey, how's Denver and Boulder like, for a living and things like that. But then there was also this other aspect that I'm following through in the group, which is learn, vibe, build, I think. And I actually like that idea as well from a distribution or from like sharing what we are learning point of view for, I don't know, for like workshops with people who are either getting started or, the human AI collective Zen that you were building in VHS, right? So those things also could be possible. I can write more details here, but that's like one thing I collected. You can go to the Learn by Build website, and I think there's hopefully I have it open somewhere. Yeah, this one. Let's see. I showed this to Rodolfo, if I remember, right?
Yeah, and we actually have a really good collective here, a block away, 2 blocks away from where I live. It's much, I don't know if for you guys that spent some time in Singapore, it's much better than Lorong AI. Lorong has more government-sponsored presentations, but what happens in between, like we've now got about 4, it started with like maybe 5 people, and now we've got about 30 to 40 people that are meeting on Fridays to share what they're working on, sometimes do like a bigger presentation, and then jam together and work on stuff together. And 2 people started a company together based on meeting here a few weeks ago. There's a lot of cross-pollination between designers, product, business. There's 2 ex-McKinsey digital people that are there. So actually and then another non-McKinsey digital, but ex-McKinsey. So I'm 3-to-1 outnumbered by McKinsey.
Does everyone know each other in this group, or is it like this, like our group here? We kind of all know each other, right?
No, so the guy who runs it, he kind of reminds me of like the Lenny Rachitsky.
Yeah.
Of the way that he operates is doesn't have a big personality. He's kind of a little not shy, but quiet.
Yeah.
And he's just really, really good at getting people together and connecting people and letting things flourish. Like even you guys, some of you guys, Kishore, you definitely know Sid, right?
Yeah.
I introduced him the other day to this guy, Justin, who created a AI robotics lab, and he's doing AI generative art with robots. And he's just a really smart dude. And so like I brought him the other day, he showed off his company. He just started called the Robot Company. And now these guys are connecting.
That's
and
so cool.
like it's just been lots of really good connecting of people then like working together. And Fridays is like the climax of getting together. I even go around, I make my own homemade trail mix.
Picture you share,
And every week I walk around with a jar and give out free trail mix that I make at home and stuff. It's just become like a really, really good community. And they do partner with a third party that does lots of master classes on AI, how to use N8N, how to make your marketing, how to do, any of that, OpenClaw, all that sort of stuff. So it's become, and now he's actually launching a 20-person co-living facility
Cool. Yeah.
in Holland Village. It's basically like the network school,
Network school.
but
Yeah.
you know, only smaller, only like 15 to 20 people, and he's taking applications for people. I might be like a kind of like a big brother that goes there once a week and checks on the kids and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really cool to recreate these things.
That's so cool.
A lot of value in it. Yeah.
It's somehow amazing that most of the cities, right, the denser like cities where tech is happening, Singapore, like I think Dubai, obviously SF, and now New York, they're seeing all these ideas pop up together. Like I'm guessing like Frontier Towers was probably like I don't know if it was a outshoot or like it was a inspiration from Network School, or were there folks involved from Network School that ended up like starting the Frontier Living, co-living and other things. But the point that they have the whole building, right, or at least the major part of the building, that itself, it's a big deal for like starting something like that. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I think that Kishore.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll be brief on this one, but we have another friend. Maybe we should ask if he wants to join. Andre, he had a decentralized design studio for a while.
Zen knows it.
Running.
I think I only met him once. But actually, I had a question for you guys, Kishore and Rodolfo. Do you know that the server that you have?
Yeah.
What is this, a GPU or is it CPU? Like, what is it? Is it
It's a CPU with the memory. The memory on that server is shared between GPU and CPU, but there is a GPU. Yeah, a GB like Grace Blackwell GPU. Because
that in and of itself is kind of like, if you can provision infrastructure, or in a way like. I definitely know people who would need that are less technical, but if we can just like give them.
Like three of you are product guys, right? So I'm not sure yet how we could like, I don't know, productize it to a point that we can spend time on supporting scaling or like whatever, right? And then also, let's say we spend time on that, and again, I'm happy to like open up for experiments. And would love to actually see, how much is it even worth for, like, say, for example, Zen, for your use case, right, or for BPS or like a, inference use case. And I can, these things are like, I can do that in my sleep as well, right? Because I want to work on these kind of use cases where I'm making sure that the infrastructure is scalable, ironclad, secure, and like better. But I don't know whether the inferencing would work for our use cases. It's been like 3 to 4 weeks now that I have been like slowly getting confidence on using Quen on that machine. And this is 35 billion Quen. And just today morning, I was discussing with Rodolfo that at times I feel that we should have 70 billion or 120 billion, model on that. And again, that machine cannot support 120 billion, at least not to the point that it can run, as it is. It has to be quantized. It has to be like,
it's not just inference. It's just being able to run my agent teams in the cloud is not for a non-technical person. Even if you're, installing like Claude code in the cloud and having it do. I'll show you some of the stuff I did on the VPS, but it's just like Daytona. All these things are built for somebody that's very technical, and a non-technical person. They can install stuff locally on their laptop, right? Even paperclip and those kinds of things. But it's not that easy to just then take that and port it into something that runs 24/7 when you're not there. So it's really like equivalent of a Mac Mini in the cloud is like what I'm looking at, is like how do you give them that simple experience for a non-technical person that's as easy as like a Mac Mini? Turn it on, set your thing up, but it's in the cloud and not.
Are you talking about just for running OpenClaw or for other things?
Well, technically it could be for other things too, because there's every day there's like a new OpenClaw, but the underlying need I think is that
same thing, secure,
being able to run agent teams in the cloud as a non-technical or a semi-technical person without dealing with all the like server.
There's a shitload of startups. Every single meetup I go to, I meet at least 3 people who are building agents in the cloud, secure for your team. Some of them are doing it for product development. Some of them are doing it for more of the back office stuff. Some are trying to go all the way across. Every single meetup I go to, people are building this.
I have not seen one that is like, I've not seen one that's where you kind of have ownership over your information. I don't know. Maybe I need some links, but I've seen.
I think the people that want that look, you have two camps, right? I mean, you have even let's say N8N, right? It was an open source, and if you want to self-host it, then you can, and then you don't have to pay, and it's free. Or if you want to pay for the hosting, you can pay a subscription and pay for the hosting. So like everyone falls in those two camps. Either you want the data, you want the ownership, you want to host it, you're going to spend the effort and the brain power for doing it, or you're going to pay for the hosting. Supabase does the same thing, and like what the Supabase founder told me is like it's very simple, right? Like people pay for the hosting. Like that's what it is. Like that's what actually makes the money. It's actually not even the product where they make the money. They still have open source developers contributing to the core platform for free.
But I'm saying that's where I'm saying the gap is. I'm saying either you have to be, if you're non-technical, your only option is to sign up for a bunch of SaaS products, or you can self-host and run unlimited for free, basically, right? But you have to be technical. So I'm saying there's a gap. If you want to run, the benefit of open source software is you can run it once you have the server. You can run it unlimited. Like I can run N8N with unlimited workflows if I know how to set it up. So people that are non-technical, they're not going to bother doing that, so they end up signing up for the SaaS subscription. But if I have a server, they're not going to ask for a server, right? That's not like, they're not going to say they want that. But what I'm saying the gap is like making it easy for anybody to run. Basically, you can have any, like free.
You know what? Sorry.
I don't want to derail. I run one topic, but
I've run into something similar, right? Especially like with N8N. So Hostinger, for example, you can basically do like a one quick deploy, right? So you pay for like $8 a month, I think, for the VPS, right? And then it's N8N and do whatever you want, right? It's yours, and you have to log into it, right? I think that what you're saying though is kind of like something in between, right? Because you need N8N, but you also need whatever. Maybe you need like a small inferencing model, right? Maybe you need like a coding model. Maybe you need Supabase. Maybe like so all these pieces, right? How do you put that all together? I think that's, if I'm understanding you correctly, right? It's kind of like that glue, right? Is difficult to.
Yeah, I'll show you what I did. I'll show you some stuff I was looking at. But it's kind of like I want to run my essentially like autonomous company in a box, right? It's like the same thing.
Because Heroku did that for Amazon, right? For AWS.
But if you look at Heroku, it's so technical.
I
can do it because it's not a non-technical person would see one line on Heroku on the first page and they'd be like, "What do you mean deploy to?" They don't even know what deploy means.
Right. But think of that, right? I mean, how shitty was AWS that Heroku still looking so technical made a business out of it?
My point is, all the DevOps tools are all these like tools are targeting DevOps people instead of saying we make it really easy for you to set up self-host your own stuff and run unlimited. You can run like vibe coding Bolt, like old software. You can run unlimited for free, basically.
We have to learn from we have to learn from Apple's like unpacking and running experience, because when Apple sent you a device at home, no matter how technical the device is, I think the hosting and the running is so simple. The onboarding is so simple. So
like I want my cloud computer basically to work my Apple computer. But it's not like that. I have to go deal with Heroku and all these other things to actually get it. And you can do one click, like you said, right? But it's like, still, if you actually want to do that one click, if it's self-hosted, it's not like you have to manage that infrastructure after that. So that's what I mean. So.
Well, this is really great. I'm glad that we have like recording going on here, right? So I would love to extract notes from all of the recorders, like note takers. So. This is specifically for like requirements in this case, and these are requirements across the spectrum, but let's focus more on the requirements for like non-technical users and like for founders who are just asking for a one click. But the distinction here is like either self-hosted or private, confidential, like contained.
Sure. Why don't we do something? So we have this, we have these skills, right, that we set up for Claude that we've been using with internally and with one of our clients, right? It's kind of like, basically to take like conversations, right, and then have that become it's
Tony,
kind of like a design thinking.
Tony, do you have something urgent to say?
I might have to leave here in a minute,
Yeah,
but I did want to actually, I think it would be good for us to codify, to actually step through no more than 2 minutes in each one of the ideas that we haven't covered yet.
Yeah.
This gets the juices flowing. This is really good. I also want to do that, but Zane, I was going to say a prompt, like a how might we, which I think might help steer what you're thinking of, is all these people just bought Mac Minis to run their OpenClaw. How can we take advantage of the fact that they now have these Mac Minis, which are being completely underutilized to just run this one thing? How can we sell to them, you have this Mac Mini and it only is being used for this. What are some other good purposes that we can leverage that Mac Mini for? And then angle it literally just for that one audience. But
it's either that or say, hey, you just, instead of spending $500 on a Mac Mini, we'll give you that any experience that's as easy, but it's $40 a month or whatever it is. It's like your equivalent of that experience. That
exists on a bespoke, for every single, even for like OpenClaw, there's multiple tools now. There's like myclaw.ai, where you just pay a subscription and they run it in the cloud for you, and they have a better dashboard built on top of it. There's a lot of tools out there to dumb it down, but it's all for like one tool at a time. So I think what you might be getting at is how can you build something that is to address multiple tools. You want to run your 889, you want to run your Superbase, you want to run this. We'll build something that you click OpenClaw, click Superbase, click this, click, you might want to even have a web server for like a Netlify or a Vercel style. So like just leverage this thing in the cloud that you pay one subscription to run a bunch of different tools. Anyways.
Exactly.
I am putting in something for exactly same day, same time next week. So Tony, this is a great idea. We'll do a brief for each idea next week. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that next week.
Are we like putting something out, or are we, but I mean, we're putting this video out, but are we kind of are we doing some ideas?
Yeah, let's Tony, as Tony, you drop off, and thanks for bringing that up, right? We'll try to continue for the next 10 minutes at least, if people can wait for next 10 minutes, and then we'll see what are the steps to get to at least sort of